there's two ways of finding truth. One is the way of the scientist, and one is the way of the artist. I think that a magical thinker is someone who's strongly in that artist camp of finding truth through those intangible ways. That's what a magical thinker is to me. Someone who looks at the world as an infinite series of connections instead of a straight line.
Well, I love the San Gabriel Valley.
Welcome to the My SGV podcast.
So I grew up here and I still live in Alhambra.
I was raised in between Temple City and Alhambra.
Eventually resided in South San Gabriel.
Our mission is to capture and share the stories of the people of the San Gabriel Valley.
Monterey Park has pretty much been my whole life.
Well, I'm proud to say that I was born and raised in the San Gabriel Valley.
We believe our diversity is what makes the SGV great. And no matter where you are from in the San Gabriel Valley, you will feel welcome. All right, SGVers, welcome back to another episode of the My SGV podcast. Jackson, I'm excited for this conversation, for two reasons. One, magic, even though I know what you do is beyond magic, but magic is one of my favorite things, and basketball is one of my favorite things.
Oh, great.
So we just got to chatting with the basketball.
Yeah.
You said you had a 6'8" Pakistani friend?
Yeah.
Did he dominate? I mean, because sometimes they can be 6'8" and not dominate.
He was pretty good. I mean, our high school team went to the CAF Southern Section Finals, played against the Holiday Brothers, I think it was. But I think it was Drew Holiday was the one we played against. I forget the team name, but yeah.
Oh, you had a legit team then?
Yeah, that was high school. And then I played a year of NCAA basketball for myself. And yeah, I still could kind of keep it as a hobby.
Where did you play?
I played at a small D3 in the middle of Maine called Colby College.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Still, you played college ball.
Yeah.
Did you get a lot of playing time?
A little bit, being a first year, it just was sort of spread out amongst all the rookies. But enough for it to be fun.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
My only experience playing against someone of, I would guess your caliber, he was 6'6", in a gym, an open gym in San Marino. We had the open gym, and he comes by, and we're like, okay, this guy's pretty tall, right? And he pokes the ball away, top of the key, takes 3 dribbles and dunks it on the other side. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He played at Harvard. He played at Harvard. Yeah. So
that's great.
Let's get into your story. But before that, thank you to Paris Baguette for sponsoring the delicious treats for our guests every week here. Go check them out in the city of San Gabriel on Las Tunas, Paris Baguette, and say hi to Jason for us. Today we're diving into the world of mentalism, psychology, and mind-bending illusions with a performer who's mastered the art of perception. Based in Los Angeles, he's captivated audiences at top venues like Hollywood's Black Rabbit Rose and the Rideau Speakeasy, blending psychological insight with mesmerizing magic. His fascination with subconscious started young, leading him to explore the depths of human behavior through mentalism. Along the way, his talents have earned praise from celebrities like Lana Del Rey and Joel McHale, and he's been featured in Psychology Today and NY Weekly. He's even taken the stage at DEF CON, breaking down how the mind can be hacked. Beyond the spotlight, he's dedicated to giving back, supporting youth arts education, and efforts to fight homelessness. Get ready for a conversation that will challenge the way you think. Please welcome Jackson Ridd to the podcast. Jackson, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, me too.
It took a kind of a while for us to connect, and actually, maybe your agent had reached out to us at first, and I'm really glad that you reached out afterwards.
I'm glad too. Yeah.
So and now you're here. So, Jackson, let's start with what's your connection to the SGV?
So I came here later in my life, started getting close to it when I went to high school. La Cañada was where I finished high school. I went to a few different ones, but that's where I finished. And my now wife still lives in Pasadena, Pasadena, Altadena, right in that area. And we got to know each other. I went to school out of New York for a bit, and then when I came back, pretty much we moved in together at her place, at her folks' place in the Altadena, Pasadena foothills, and that was my beginning of entry point into the area. There were, for a little while, there was a bunch of magic jams that would happen right on Las Tunas at this little spot called Bubble Republic, and that's when I started really going into like the heart of the San Gabriel area, Alhambra, and starting to explore a lot of the food scene and stuff like that. But in the end, I'd say my one connection is my wife, who grew up in the area for her whole life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, La Cañada. So you went to La Cañada.
Yeah.
That's definitely in the San Gabriel Valley.
Yeah.
I think La Crescena going up to Montrose is not.
Okay.
So, awesome. And you're currently in Pasadena, Altadena. So, today is March, but you just experienced the fires. So,
Yeah.
You survived that, or your house survived that.
The house survived. We still have some damages that still need to be cleaned up. It's just a very slow going process, and so we're working through it pretty much. Yeah.
And how about the neighborhood around you guys?
It's gone.
Wow.
It's gone. Everything we did on the weekends, all the places we went, very thankful the local library survived, because the Altadena Library is very cool. The one in Mariposa, so cool. That survived, thankfully, but all the little cute spots we went to on the, for coffee or for lunch, or people would come over and we'd take them places. Most of it's gone. So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish you the best, recovery from that. Would you describe, is a mentalist a correct title for you?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back to your childhood. What kind of child were you?
Very quiet, very observant. I didn't like to speak much. I like to watch a lot. So going back to basketball, right? There's always the kid who wants to go first in the drill, and there's always a kid that wants to go last. I always wanted to go last, not because sometimes the coaches would be like, "Oh, he's too shy, he's too timid." I was like, "No, I want to see what they do, so I can do this better. Like, I want to watch what everyone's doing." I just was very interested in seeing how people did things, seeing how people thought, behavior. I was very interested in that stuff from a very young age, and in that sense, I didn't like to be a part of things. I like to sort of watch things, and that's informed my profession, my career, and it's really informed the flavor of show that you see when you see me, because it's really about the people. It's not about me. Look at me. Look at what I can do. It's really look at what we all can do here, bringing everyone together, making it this communal experience.
So you enjoyed observing people a lot.
Yeah.
And it sounds like maybe others felt like that was being standoffish in some way.
Yeah, totally. I didn't really like to be very sociable when I was a kid. I'd have a very small group of friends. I'm talking like elementary school. Very small group of friends, mostly artists. We like to draw, stuff like that. The quiet kids. Yeah. I mean, it sort of changed in high school, but in high school I found like the performative element of magic, and I formed a magic club. And then in my senior year, I was like the MC of the assemblies that we had for the high school. So every dance or every sporting event, they had a rally, right? And I would be one of the hosts that hosted that whole thing. And that was kind of an introduction to production, to be honest, like live production, learning how to put on a show.
Wow.
Yeah.
What opened your eyes to this like magic? What was it that turned you on to that?
Well, it was two things. So I would say the feeling of magic began when I was around 10 or 11 years old, and my dad showed me a pendulum ritual, which some of you may be familiar with, some may not. But are you familiar with the pendulum ritual?
You touched on it briefly, but please share.
So it's essentially, it's something called the ideomotor response, and this is a real thing. You can look it up on Wikipedia.
Idea or ideal?
Ideomotor.
Ideomotor, okay.
It describes a condition that everyone has, essentially, that your mind subconsciously influences your behavior, right? Subconsciously, without you even consciously processing it. That's how Ouija boards work. But basically, if you hold something and you like a little string with something weighted on the bottom, so that's like a pendulum, right? If you hold something like a pocket watch, for example, and you start thinking about it moving in one direction, like counterclockwise or clockwise or left or right, front to back, it will make that motion if you just think move without consciously processing it, right? So if you
Like you're holding it and then you're thinking it and then it's
Yeah.
going to move. Okay?
Yeah. But you're not consciously doing it, and that's the trick. Because when you do that, you can trick yourself into answering questions that you don't know. So you will program this essentially, basically, by saying, okay, clockwise is going to be yes, counterclockwise is going to be no, for example. Then you ask it a yes or no question. Okay, you condition it, and then you ask it a question, yes or no, that you don't know the answer to. Like, will I get this job that I'm interviewing for? Or will I make X amount of money or go on that vacation, whatever you want. And it will give you a hint into what you feel on the inside. It could be a maybe, it could be really mixed up, it could be very clearly yes, but it's showing you what the interior thoughts of yourself are. Really, it's manifesting those thoughts in front of you. And it's a very, very wild thing to experience as a kid. And that got me thinking about, man, this is a weird feeling. What is this? Is this real? Does everyone feel this way? What are the other things that I'm not noticing that are right in front of me? All right. So that was one big introduction to magic. It was that.
Your dad showed you this, or he
Yeah.
did it? He did it like you did it with your dad.
My dad is a very metaphysical dude. So he was very into all this sorts of stuff, like lunar tracking and, pendulum, sort of subconscious awareness, Jungian, like dream analysis and that sort of stuff. And that was at that age, and that got me interested in those sorts of thoughts. The secondary part would be an introduction to more performative magic, which is what I would call like card tricks or like stage magic and stuff like that. Things that we normally think of when we think about performative magic, like on stage. And a teammate of mine in high school showed me a card trick, and I was like, this is crazy. It blew my mind. And he showed me how to do it, and then I practiced it. I showed it to someone else, and I'm like, this is that feeling. This is the same feeling I had when I was much younger, but like almost formatted in the form of entertainment, right? I can show this to other people now. I can't just experience it myself. I can share this. And that was a big changing point for me for saying, wow, you can give that feeling to others. That feeling that I gave myself, you can make other people feel that way. And that was so cool. And that's sort of the combination of those two just kicked everything off for me.
And so you started to MC or host these events in high school.
Yeah.
And were you doing magic? Were you doing any of this stuff at that time?
At that time, yeah. I don't think I did any in any of the assemblies, but it was very well known amongst the school that I did magic. So
Why is that?
I don't know. I mean,
Were you doing it at school?
yeah, for sure. I mean, at lunchtime, trying out tricks, doing whatever, showing my peers. It really kicked off with the magic club. And this is like right when YouTube was starting to pop off, and I filmed a little YouTube video and went to downtown Glendale and recorded like street reactions, kind of like heavily inspired by David Blaine.
Yeah, okay.
Had my like a lot of my friends were like my cameramen, sort of going out and shooting stuff with me. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, that's the video would get sent around, and then someone would see someone doing a card trick at lunch, and then a little crowd gathers, of course, and then you're like, oh, there's a magic club? What's that? What's a magic club? So let's go see what that is. And I would perform a few things. We had lectures. It was great. I tried to do a whole thing with that.
I love magic too. I remember getting a magician's thread thing. I don't know if you've
Magician's
seen-
thread.
Yeah.
What's that? What do you mean?
So, okay, I'm going to reveal the...
You can just tell me what it means. Like what happens in the effect? What's the trick?
So someone will give me their ID or card or something, right? And I'll look at it, and then I'll
yeah, I know
throw
what
it
you're
out
talking
into the
about.
air,
Sure.
and then it's like spinning here.
So cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
And then I would like go like this, right?
Yeah.
And then I would push my hand out, and it would come to my hand, and I would
Yeah.
give it to them.
yeah.
I loved that trick.
It's a great trick.
But cards, sleight of hand, like that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. But it is the performance, right? It's
Yeah.
all about how you're delivering it.
It really is. I mean, there's two parts to it, definitely, right? You have to be able to execute the trick. You have to be able to do it. That's the scientific part of magic. But then the artist part of magic comes when you get in front of a crowd or an audience of any size, and you perform it for them. You give them a feeling.
So you're quite passionate about it at this point.
Yeah,
in high
totally.
school. And Besides David Blaine, were there people who you were like, oh, I think I can, pursue a career in this?
Like role models, you mean? Well, that would bring me to my mentor who lectured at my magic club in high school. His name is Steve Silverman. He passed a few years ago. He is a great guy. He worked with my mom at JPL. They were both coworkers together. And my mom was like, oh, my son's getting interested in magic. There's this guy that does coin tricks before meetings. Let me ask him if he can talk to my son. Maybe he can give him some insight. And we had lunch together in Montrose. And I showed him a few tricks. I kind of screwed them all up. And then he just showed me a few things, blew my mind. And I was like, just showed him whatever I could. And he said, okay, well, I can teach you if you come over to my place. And we'll go through a whole program to try to get you into the junior program, try to get my audition together pretty much. The Magic Castle has a junior program for kids. So everything was targeted towards that when I was just starting out, creating my audition, and eventually got it together, auditioned, first time got in, then was part of that program. That kind of took it from there as far as Steve was my very first example of what this looks like when you take it throughout your life. And he was very engaged with it in a very, very professional manner, but it was always a hobby for him. It was never his full profession in that way. He was very much an engineer at heart, but it influences magic for sure. And I'd say magic influences like everyone. If they're a magical thinker, it influences their personality and how they come across. There's lots of famous people that love magic, and it comes across in what they do.
Is he the type of guy who carries like a few tricks just in his pocket like all the time just in case?
Steve, he was always ready. Like, he was definitely part of that old school style of magic. Very, very classic. Really, really slick sleight of hand. But he could do stuff with ordinary just coins, honestly. So he'd probably have like a silver dollar on him and just make it appear, disappear, go here, go there, go into your cup. It was really cool, all with like regular stuff. So he would just carry a few things on him, but yeah, nothing too wacky in like the wacky magician world,
Yeah. And it sounds like your mom, at least, was very supportive of your interest here at this time.
Yeah.
She never was like, oh, this is maybe you'll grow out of it, or
no. I mean, what's funny is that she was so supportive when I was younger. I dropped out of college once, and she was like, you got to finish college. So I'm very happy I did that for her. But what's really funny now, I'm making a better living at it than I've ever have. And still now she's like, you could do that. You could do this other thing. She's like, you're very smart. You're very analytical. You could be this. You could do like data analysis. You could be a lawyer. She just wants me to have, I think she sees how hard it is to make a living at it. And she just keeps dropping these hints like, you're pretty good. You could do other stuff. You know that, right? And I'm like, I know. You need to stop telling me this. I'm not going to do anything else. This is it.
We did 3 shows yesterday. And one of the things that I'm always looking for in the story, and I'm trying to, guide the conversation in that way, is what is this person passionate about? And you just see them, like, as soon as they get to that, they light up.
Yeah.
And there's so many stories of people pursuing other things and coming back, and like 100% it's the passion.
I know. I know. You got to do what you truly love. You have to care about it in some sense of the word. You really do.
Yeah. And so you were lucky, I guess, back then that your mom had this position.
Yeah.
And maybe she's, she's concerned for you now. So did you pursue magic right out of high school, going into college, or what did that look like?
Not really. I did. So I went to 2 colleges. First college, right out of high school, I was playing basketball. That was a big focus. I didn't know how far that would go. I was still very interested in the fundamentals of magic. So I was a psychology major at the time. I think a turning point in that year was I got cast in the like winter play as a magician character, and the school theater program had a little bit of a budget, so we built a very large, like getting sawed in half illusion. It's very large because, of course, the students, they're not contortionists and they can't fit into a small space. So it just looks comically large for these very small, like this very small person to get in this box. And there's another, it was awesome. But it was a custom prop made for me. And we did the trick, and it was a part of this whole like circus play. So that was all amazing. And then the end of that year, I had to drop out. Just my folks needed some help in LA, honestly. And stayed home for a while, kind of got involved in production Hollywood a little bit, and then finally went back to school in New York. And I think that was a place where I was really able to both do school and also pursue magic at a time, because it was a big enough city. You could go to the local magic shop, go to the jams, the hangouts that people would have, and stay engaged with it for sure, and perform different clubs. I started getting into performing a lot more in like adult venues because I was at the age of the time. Yeah.
And what does a performance look like?
It would be like guest spots at small nightclubs, pretty much. So I would hear that someone's doing a magic night, and I'd just reach out to them and say, here's my website, here's some videos. Can you book me for like 5-10 minutes or something like that on stage? And I would do my short set, maybe opening for the headliner, or maybe be something in the middle. But that's what it would look like, pretty much. I was working on my stage stuff at the time, and it was a long road, but that was the beginning of it for sure.
And at that time, are you just doing sleight of hand and magic, or are you also incorporating this like mentalist aspect of your show?
At that time, it was mostly magic, I would say. Mostly like performative conjuring, doing tricks with things, right? That was the focus at the time.
I see. And then when you make your way back here to the San Gabriel Valley,
Mm-hmm.
you meet your wife,
Mm-hmm.
and you're still on this path to pursue magic head on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, coming back to LA was really nice because there's a big scene here. There's a lot of magicians in this area, especially of the country, because not only do you have LA, a lot of magicians work in Hollywood, work in production. So you have that element that's sustaining a lot of them as like their full-time work. And then you also have the Vegas cats who are doing it out there, and it's very easy to get back and forth. So there's a lot of commingling. There's a big magic convention that happens in Vegas every year. So like that's a thing that attracts a lot of people from around the world. But yeah, it really started popping off when I moved back to LA, and I was able to say, all right, I'm done with school. This is it. I'm going to try to make a career out of this. And yeah.
Was there at any point where you're like, oh, maybe I should pivot, maybe I should, do something else?
Yeah, for a while there was. It was in New York where I would honestly classify it as a spiritual experience.
Oh.
Where I finally decided that this is it. This is what I got to do. I have to do this. This is what gives my life meaning, and this is what I'm put here to do to an extent, because it was just a feeling at the time, and I've seen more clues and more, I guess, bits of truth as I have passed since those years. Those years have gone by, but that was the moment where I said, no, this is it. It was a change for sure. It was a crossroads.
What was the spiritual part of it?
Should I say it? Should I say the story?
Absolutely,
okay.
Sure. Stories are the best here.
Yeah. So I was having a really hard time in New York. Just really, really tough time. I felt like I wasn't really connecting with anyone out there. I felt like it was just kind of me. And there was a distinct moment where I felt like I was kind of lost, right? I didn't know what to focus on. Because I was kind of doing magic. I was kind of focused on school. I didn't know what I was, at the time, going to even major in. I was very scattered and very depressed. And I just thought to myself one day, this is like, if I am not here in the world tomorrow, like, it's not going to make a difference. Like, nothing really matters. And I walked out of my very tiny little apartment out onto the street, and in comes a person who maybe has said a few words to me the whole year that I've been there. So this is just a person on the same floor. But that day specifically, they locked eyes with me intently, and they said, "Hello, Jackson. How are you doing today?" And it was a person that I've maybe said 2 words to the whole year. They never greet me that way. And that day, of all days, was the day they decided to connect with me. And to me, that was a moment that's 1 out of a million. Just the way it felt, the way it made me feel in the moment. And at that time I was like, okay, well, that's sort of a reset button on me. And if I'm going to keep doing my life, I'm going to commit to magic, because that's what gives my life joy. And I've already hit the reset button. Why not?
Yeah. Wow. It's amazing how such a small bit of effort from someone at the right time can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
In someone's life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so you made this commitment here.
Mm-hmm.
You're all in. You come back here.
Yeah.
And you meet your wife.
Mm-hmm.
Is she into magic? Did she meet you through magic?
So, to be fair, we did know each other before, but this is when we really started to get serious, because we're not long distance anymore. We're in the same city. But yeah, she loves magic. She helped me produce some of my very first solo performance shows in the fringe festivals around here. So the Hollywood Fringe, San Diego Fringe. Yeah, she was helping on the production side of things. She very much, I think, is a magical thinker herself. She's Iranian, and there's a lot of magical thinking in the culture. So she'll do tea readings, Turkish coffee readings. There's a lot of ritual in the culture itself. So she is a very magical person, I would say. And, they do rituals with eggs, and there's so much cool stuff, honestly. Yeah, that you don't even know about the culture until you really get in it.
What is a magical thinker?
I'm going to paraphrase the quote, but basically there's 2 ways of finding truth. One is the way of the scientist, and one is the way of the artist. And I think that a magical thinker is someone who's strongly in that artist camp of finding truth through those, intangible ways. And that's what a magical thinker is to me. Someone who looks at the world as an infinite series of connections instead of a straight line, Someone who thinks around problems. Someone who thinks with their heart, I'd say more than their mind. Able to feel things, empathy, that sort of stuff.
Often we'll have conversations with people about truth, right? And these are like heavier conversations.
Yeah.
And one of the first questions I ask them is, do they believe that there's such thing as an absolute truth? And that's sort of the starting point, right? Because if they don't, then the conversation has to go a different direction, right? Because we're not pursuing that one thing because you don't even believe it exists, right? Then there's the person who says, well, you can't know truth. So I say more the easier tests for truth are logical consistency, experiential relevance, and empirical adequacy, right? So I had breakfast this morning at, in Paris. I had this awesome baguette, before the show. So you're laughing. Doesn't make sense logically, right? And so just sort of those things, you just know, right? If that doesn't align with my experience, if it doesn't make sense logically, if there's not the empirical data is not really there, those are ways that we just can automatically sort of know this thing is not true.
Sure.
Right? Because people they know, you have this something innate in you. So I would say rather than going to the conscious mind and thinking, let me see this thing, it's just sort of innate these ways. Yeah. Sorry, we sort of got off on a tangent here.
No, for a second I was like, oh, you had a baguette at Paris Baguette, and I'm like. Makes sense. They're the sponsors of the show, of course.
No. In Paris.
Okay. Maybe it was so good it took you to Paris. Mentally, right? You're like, oh, man.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Your wife is a magical thinker. She's helping you, produce your shows.
Yeah.
And is there a moment where something really took off and hit for you?
I'm still waiting.
I think you're modest. You've had some success.
Yeah, but still waiting in the end. I think I've come to more of a happy place for sure, with it. Things will recur without my intense effort to make them recur. That's a big thing. Finding residencies is a big thing. Being able to have a place that will book you repeatedly. Being completely honest, I don't know what success would feel like, but that's the nice thing is that I'm not really looking for that. I'm more looking to, it's a journey of the heart for me.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, just in the way that you described what you were seeking after, first you felt this feeling of amazement, then you realized that you could give other people this feeling, and then pursuing that. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing now is just trying to make that as effective and as efficient as possible. I think I've been in a flow of performing as much as possible, getting in front of as many people as I can. If I did that every day for the rest of my life, there's only so many people I can affect. I'm just trying to increase that number. How can I reach a greater amount of people in a more significant way? How can I at least shoot my shot with everybody in the world, right? I want everyone to feel that feeling that hasn't felt it. So how can I get there? What's the best way? And that's what the problem is now for me. That's what I'm focused on. But in the end, it's a good day if you can share it with someone or talk to someone about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get into more of like what your show has like transformed into. I know it's not just magic now, but before that, we ask each guest to bring an item with them. What did you bring with you today?
Yes, I brought this. This is my trusty notebook.
Okay, a little red book.
Little red book.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
a
what
la
is
Carl
that?
Jung. So this is where every show begins and ends. I have an I was thinking about this as I was like, what should the item be? And I was like, it has to be this. And I looked back through my archive and I have an unbroken string of these little books dating all the way to 2010.
Wow.
And in it is a commentary on every show that I've ever performed, everywhere that I've ever done, from the small little private party to the big theater. It's all in here. Different ideas for TV shows and remarks upon what I should do better next time, plans for what I'm going to do. And I think it has a great significance to me because I'm never really seen without this. If I'm going to a meeting with a magician, this is on the table. I love taking notes physically. You can draw, you can make things that you can't quite make on a phone or a computer. And the coolest thing is that I have an archive of everything that I've thought, which is useful for me because I kind of forget things that I'm not working on. So a lot of times in magic, people want a certain type of thing, and it might not be what I'm currently interested in. So it's useful to be like, I've done that before, but I kind of forget what that felt like. And I get to go back and say, oh yeah, okay. Dollar bills. I remember there was a time in my life where I was really interested in that kind of stuff. So let me go look back at my notes and see, oh yeah, that's a good thing to do. I could try to make that again. I could do that. So yeah, it really is just, it's kind of like Prospero, Shakespeare's Prospero and like the magical books. The magical books are what make a wizard. Really, you have to have the text. What do you rely on?
Yeah.
So this is it.
Awesome. Thanks for bringing that, and thanks for sharing that story. So you're externalizing a lot of your thoughts.
Yes.
And have you ever heard this before? The first time I heard this, I was like, oh, that makes sense. That our brains are not for storage, they're for processing.
Wow. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And the more that you just try to keep in there, then your processing speed goes down.
I get it.
Right. And so like by externalizing, whether it's journaling, getting it out of there, then you can like sort of relieve because you know it exists. You don't have to hold on to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. This is meant for buffering. Yeah. Not for storage.
That's
not a
right.
hard disk drive.
And the first time I heard that, I was like, oh man, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
There's this sort of anxiety to lose something.
Yeah.
If it only exists here. So that's awesome.
That reminds me of a follow-up to that, which is if you're thinking too much, write something down. If you're not thinking enough, read something. Right? This input-output idea.
That's awesome. Can you say that one more time?
If you're thinking too much, write something down. If you're not thinking enough, read something.
Yeah. Awesome. I love it. Well, I want to get into more of your show now, but let's take a quick break.
Sometimes, even the best of us can slip up. That's why the law offices of Scott Wormuth are here to pick you back up again.
And while they strive to get you the biggest compensation possible, oh my gosh!
Their main concern is your health and recovery. They work closely with doctors and insurance companies to make sure you get the proper medical treatment.
Initial consultations are free, so give them a call.
At the law offices of Scott Wormuth, we're with you all the way.
I'm Scott Wormuth. We've been fighting for your rights for more than 40 years.
All right, we're back with Jackson. Jackson, before the break, you were sharing that insight into your brain thinking too much or not thinking enough. So thank you for that. Before we move on with the show, we like to ask a question from this deck of cards called Icebreakers. Just a little game for the audience to get to know us a little bit better. So I'll answer this as well. What's something about you that surprises people when they first hear it?
Oh my gosh. Surprises them. See, that's a good question.
Oh, you're laughing a lot.
I don't know.
Oh, you don't
see. It all depends on how they know me. I think for one, in one sense, I have had people surprised that only know me professionally. They're surprised at how much I love athletics and how really I just love sports. I love physical activity. I love learning new things that way. That's a big surprise for them.
I was shocked.
Yeah.
You have a very calming demeanor. I'm sure people have said that to you before. But then to play at a D3 level basketball, you have got to be intense.
You gotta really be into it. And yeah, honestly, my life is so much better with some sort of physical exertion. Like I just genuinely feel better. And if I don't, like it's kind of been raining last while. I'm like, man, I can't go for a run. I can't do that. I'm like, oh my gosh.
And you're playing in an outdoor court.
I know. Yeah. I need to get an indoor club.
You must be dominating there.
Whenever I get invited to a game, yeah. I mean, it's very apparent from like how I'm drilling that they're like, oh, this guy's serious. We're not going to invite him to the, and then sometimes people go like, oh yeah, let's get this guy in on the, let's run threes. You want to run threes?
Yeah. Well, something that surprises people when they first hear it about me, it's either the tattoos or the army. They're like, oh, they don't think that, one, that I have a lot of tattoos, or two, that I was ever in the military.
Oh, yeah. I could see it. I'm surprised. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, that's true.
So if you're watching or listening, what's something about you that surprises people when they first hear it? Let us know. Back to your story and your show. So I'm curious about the mentalist aspect, the psychological aspect of your show, because it's not just magic, right? So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So mentalism specifically focuses on the psychological aspect of a magic trick. And that's its primary objective. It's to make you think in a particular manner. Whereas a magic trick is, in the realm of conjuring, is mostly around what's happening to a thing, what's happening to the ball, what's happening to the card, the rope, etc. In mentalism, it's a little bit more open-ended in terms of what this can be about, because it's about the story that you're telling. It's about the quote-unquote power that you're demonstrating. What's this about? And it's about creating a psychological effect in the audience. So those are I'd say the key differences, but I'm not sure if that was the question.
When you invited me, and thank you for inviting me to come see this show, when it said, mentalist, I really had no idea what that means. And I was very curious, right?
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to experience here versus like, if it says magic show, then I sort of have an idea of what it's going to be like.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So is there a lot of audience engagement? Are you reading the audience? Are you, do you focus on a trick with a person? Like, what does that look like?
So for my type of performance specifically, I am very much interested in a dialogue back and forth. I'm very much interested in learning about the audience, and also the audience, in that sense, learning about themselves. I'm very interested in creating a new thought for someone, like live on stage, right? If I can, making them think a new way, see something a new way, which really comes down to the storytelling in mentalism, because it is very story driven. In a magic trick, if you do something with the card is telling the story to some extent. You really don't have to say much. You could do it silent if you want, which is why there's a lot of silent magic. I would argue there's no real such thing as silent mentalism unless it's very heavy gestural storytelling, because really in the end it's, a mentalism trick is something simple as you write something down, you think of something, and I tell you what you're thinking of. And there's nothing there, right? How is that happening is the bigger question, and how is it happening leads to what kind of performer you see, really. Some mentalists that are out there that say, oh, I can influence you and make you think. I can implant a thought into your head like Inception. Or I can read the future. I can see what your future holds, like a psychic. I can see what's going to happen to you. So I'll tell you what is going to happen or what choices you'll make. For me, everything about me and my style relates to things that I genuinely feel and believe. And I believe that we give off a lot more than we think we're giving off. I think we say a lot just by how we dress, how we behave, how we speak. And those are all the premises that I like to explore in my work. I like to explore reading and empathy and seeing what you're doing and seeing what you're going through, and maybe telling you a bit about what you might be going through, and how you'll behave in a certain situation just based off of what I'm seeing of you. So it's very much a receptive sort of performance for me. I never like to do things where I'm like, you're gonna do that, and I knew it all along. To me it feels not true, not genuine to who I am. So if you see a show by me, it's very much going to be, you're going to learn a lot about your friends that you didn't know. You're going to see a lot about them. And I'm going to kind of be the facilitator of this entertainment, right? Because it's fun. People like that. And honestly, that's what a lot of people have been interested in when they hire me specifically to do their party or do their wedding or perform for their friends. They're like, I like you because you're going to loosen everyone up. You're going to make everyone feel very comfortable with each other. And you're going to let people kind of show themselves off to an extent. Everyone's going to learn more about each other by being with you.
You're a constant observer, and I would guess that you couldn't turn it off.
No. Yeah, I can't.
So you're observing all sorts of things also about me here.
I mean, yeah, you can't help it. I think that to some extent, it's just remaining open. And it's a two-way street for sure. People's actions speak very loudly. Honestly, just the care you've put into making this space is one of the first things I commented on, right? I just see it and I have to comment. This is a lot of work. This is a lot of work doing all this. You care. You have a very caring energy about you. You want, even from the, when we were just chatting initially, it's very evident that you have your heart and soul in this, and you really, really care about doing this thing. Just from your heart, right? It's evident.
Yeah.
So
thank you. You mentioned the word empathy twice now in maybe a span of minutes. And one of the things that I actively pursued, and I've shared this on the show before, was to filter out and see people who don't have that.
Yeah.
Because they're in the business of hiding that actually.
Yeah.
Right? And that's like, at that time when I was first learning it, the idea that there are people walking this planet that actually don't have it was shocking to me.
I know.
And then I was like, oh, other people know this. It took me a long time to realize this, but how they're not coming right out and saying it. So I had to develop ways to discover it, right? I liken it to like, most people assume everybody is right-handed.
Sure.
Until you see them right. Right? But the person who doesn't want you to know is not going to show you, right, that they're writing that way, right?
Yeah.
You can toss them a ball when they're like not expecting it, right? You can ask them to throw something. There's ways like, in trying to discover that in people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there are ways. One is like, that only really matters if you're in my close circle, right? So, or if you're doing business or something, then those things really matter.
Yeah.
And you really need to know. But for the average, person I'm encountering, it doesn't really matter that much.
Right. That's very good. That's a unique insight. I haven't heard anyone say it quite like that. That's very interesting. I'm gonna have to think about that. Just the idea of that people are trying to hide this sort of thing, and
Absolutely.
there's ways of, deducing it more often than not, or like putting people in those positions where you can start to see their character a bit more.
Absolutely. And just know this, that they know that they are different. They know because they are observing since they were little that everybody is reacting to something in a way that I'm not. And then they mimic it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, there you go. Right now you see the scary part, right? Yes. Yes. Right? So they know, hey, how come everybody else is having this reaction to this thing? I better look like that.
That's mind-blowing to me. I really, oh my gosh. I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I really hope not. That makes me so uncomfortable. I don't like that.
But, equipping yourself is the best, tool against that.
Yeah.
Right. And it's first like coming to the realization that there are people that exist like that.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
That's unreal to me.
Yeah. And empathy seems to be like the most basic of human emotions, right? Like it's how people will relate, right? Like I tell a story and I expect you to feel something from it.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's how community is made in the end. It's about all understanding and feeling similar things and feeling similar ways and adapting together as a group.
I hope you'll invite me to a future show.
Yeah.
I just couldn't make it. I was out of the country, but
totally.
I'm definitely more interested in checking it out.
Yeah, come through, man. Come through.
Well, Jackson, we're going to move on to the final segment of the show where we get to learn a little bit more about what you like about the San Gabriel Valley. So, Jackson, this is the SGV3. We sort of moved it only to food stuff now.
Yeah.
So we're ready to hear. What are your three favorite food places in the San Gabriel Valley?
I got a few spots, and they'll have a recurring theme, but I'll just give them as the spots are. So there's a spot on Washington, right in Altadena, I think it technically is, called Sapori 786. It is a halal pizza spot. That's one spot. Akbar's Cuisine of India on Arroyo Parkway and South Arroyo Parkway, and R.T. Rogers Brewing Company in Sierra Madre.
Awesome.
Those three.
So talk about the first one. How did you discover this place and what do you like to get there? If you can say the name again.
Sapori 786.
What a name.
Great name. I think it's, I forget what it might be officially like Sapori D or something like that. So I think Sapori 786 is how I found it. And they had all 5-star Yelp reviews. And
Wow.
I'm like, okay. They had a bunch of them too. And I'm like, okay, something's going on here. Everyone keeps talking about how nice the chef is and how what a cool place it is. And it's pretty close to our place. So we just honestly took a bit of a walk and walked there. Immediately, you can tell, I mean, it's the chef and owner. It's the same dude. And he's so passionate about what he's doing. He's like, oh, is it your first time here? Oh, your first time here? You can get a drink if you want. You get a drink for your first time here. What would you like to eat? I made all these pizza designs myself. Like, this is what I'm doing. What do you like? What do you like? And so very personable from the start. And we got a couple of pizzas. They're Neapolitan style pizzas, so they're sort of personal sized. So you get one, you kind of eat it for yourself, or you can split it with someone else, right? Get 2 of them. And my wife was like, oh, do you have any chili crisp? As we're eating it. We're eating it in the spot. And she's like, do you have any chili crisp? I like to put a little chili or some pepper flakes or something like that. And he's like, respectfully, I don't like to modify any of my pizzas. So I can't give you chili flakes, but you want something spicy? She's like, yeah. Okay, I'll make something for you. I'll make a couple slices for you. And so he goes back. He's like, oh my gosh, okay. And he makes like a little mini, tiny one, just for her, like kind of a sample size of like the spicy one, which was really good. I forget. I think it was like the honey bee sting or something. It has like little, oh my God, pepperonis and honey and jalapeno stuff, and I'm like, yeah, this is it. This is great. But like, the man has so much love and care that like, you got to give it to him. I can see why all the 5-star Yelp reviews exist. So that's definitely one of them. Do you want to talk about the other one?
Absolutely,
okay.
please.
Akbar is the same way. It's the chef and owner. He designs the menu, and he has another location somewhere else, but he primarily stays at this Pasadena one. His name is Avi. Very cool dude. Every time we go in there, hang out, chat with him, talk about what he's like thinking about, what he's making. He'll make lots of recommendations. The staff is very friendly, and the kicker is that it's BYOB, and it's right across from a Whole Foods. So you can kind of just like go get some wine, bring it over, and it's like a nice little spot. Get some lovely, like spicy, bunch of Indian food. It's a great like hang, honestly, whenever someone's coming in from out of town and we just want a casual, fun little night out, grab some wines, go there, like have a great time. It's just very, very, very homey to me.
Oh, awesome.
Last place, RT Rogers. It kind of feels like it's a little tiny brewery in Sierra Madre, and that part of Sierra Madre feels like it's a little mountain town.
Mm-hmm.
Just, you can kind of go into this tiny little brewery and just forget where you are. I feel like I'm in a little tiny place in Wyoming when I go in there, and it just makes me so happy that exists so close to all the hustle and bustle of LA, right? It's just a complete getaway.
Oh. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing those stories like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm definitely going to go check them out. Akbar, across the street from Whole Foods on Arroyo Parkway.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That one.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I've seen it many times, but I just didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bring a bottle of wine. Great place to hang with some friends. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Jackson, do you have any upcoming shows, or if people want to check out, your stuff, what's the best way to do that?
Best way to stay in touch with me is on my website, jacksonrid.com. You can subscribe to my newsletter, basically stay in touch with anything like that. You can follow me on Instagram. It's jacksonrid, just my name. And I'll usually post about when I'm doing shows on there. So that's a good place to follow as well.
Awesome. Well, Jackson, I appreciate you coming down in this conversation. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Russell. Yeah, this is awesome.
Well, there you go. Another show in the books. I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. And I'm pretty sure that if you're listening or watching this show, you can feel the energy from Jackson, right? And I told him in the show there's a very calm demeanor about him, and I just really enjoyed his outlook on looking at things. I hope you did too. But definitely go check him out. If I go check out his show, or I hope I will, I'll definitely let you know what it was like. So thank you for inviting me, Jackson. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe. Don't forget to like and share. And if you want to check out more of our episodes, check out our website, mysgv.net. And until next week, we'll see you then. Thank you for joining us on the MySGV podcast. Check out more of our content on our website, mysgv.net. This show was produced by Scott Wormuth, directed by Russell Mano, edited by Victoria Allers, and original music by Yone OG. If you'd like to join us next week as we capture and share more stories from our diverse community, feel welcome.
Nice matter. No kind of matter.